Good morning, everyone. I'm Kirk Hendrick, and I'm honored that Governor Lombardo appointed me to this distinguished board. It's been approximately 28 years ago that I first began working in this building as a Deputy Attorney General, and it's good to be back serving the state again. Today's Wednesday, February 8th, 2023, and this is the time and place for the regularly scheduled Nevada Gaming Control Board meeting for the month of February 2023. May I ask that you all please rise with me in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, has our agenda been posted in accordance with Nevada's open meeting law?
Yes, it has.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome new board member Judge Assad, and also thank member Watkins for her warm welcome to me on the board and her assistance to me over the past week and a half since I got here. Today, we'll be covering all items listed on our February agenda. Madam Secretary, let's proceed with public comments.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming-related matters. Anyone wishing to address the board may do so at this time. Comments by each person are limited to 3 minutes as a reasonable time, place, and manner restriction. If board members ask questions of the speaker, the time needed to address those questions will not count against the speaker's 3-minute time period. If speakers have any handouts or written copies of verbal comments to provide for the record, please hand them to the enforcement agent on the left here in Las Vegas or seated behind you in Carson City.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Pursuant to state open meeting law, matters brought to the board's attention during public comment cannot be acted upon, but we are happy to hear comments from the public as well as from my fellow board members during this public comments section of our agenda. Let's go to Carson City first. If there is anyone wishing to make public comment, please step forward to the podium. Don't see anybody in Carson City. Thank you. So anyone here in Las Vegas wishing to make public comment, please step forward to the podium and state and spell your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Diamante Asbury, Diamanteasberry. Hello to the new board members. Nice to meet you. So today I'm here on behalf of the Culinary Union. We have spoken to this board previously about Station Casino's mud lists. These were lists of workers prepared by management, requested by an executive vice president, indicating which workers were pro-management, which were pro-union, and which ones they don't know. When rehiring workers, it is against the law to discriminate based on union preference. The company started using mud lists in 2019. On June 13th, 2020, during the pandemic, the chief operating officer of Red Rock Resorts wrote to general managers, please send Phil and I your mud lists from Fiesta Rancho, Texas, Fiesta Henderson, and Palms. Also, please resend your open positions requested sheets. Why would the chief operating officer ask for mud lists and open position requests at the same time? 3 weeks later, on May 21st, 2020, the chief operating officer wrote to managers at closed stations properties, we may need to hire additional IM team members to assist at the 6 open properties. Can I get Joel, Chris, and Jordan to review the full-time IM team members that were let go at your properties? We need a list of the most company positive ones that we'd want to offer a position at one of the 6. For what legitimate reason did station casinos create mud lists to keep track of which employees were pro-management and which employees were pro-union? And why would a chief executive request copies of mud lists along with lists of open positions that need to be filled? Again, it is illegal to take into consideration a worker's attitude towards the union when making decisions to hire, recall, or transfer workers. That is one reason why the federal government has issued a complaint against stations alleging violations of federal law. We believe that the use of mud lists violates the company's code of business conduct and ethics, and we are once again asking for a comprehensive investigation into the company. Thank you. Who do I submit these sheets to?
Please state your name and spell it for the record so the court reporter can accurately record it.
Hello, my name is Robin Guevara, Robinguevara, and I work at the Red Rock Resort. I work for Station Casinos. I'm a bar porter. I have been with Station Casinos for 7 years. I feel like the company is unfair with us. 2 years ago, they gave us excuse me, 2 years ago, they gave some employees a raise, but they told us that if we make tips, we were not gonna receive a raise. On top of us getting not getting a raise, our tip compliance went up. They told us we were going to get a bonus at the end of the year, depending on our job performance. So somewhere between $200 to $800. Now, 2 years later, they took our bonus away, and they said we were we were going to get a raise depending on our job performance. My coworkers and I don't feel like these raises were given fairly. I personally got a 32 cents raise. I don't feel like they value us. The company hold meetings excluding all union workers, all non-union workers, and they offer non-union workers different benefits. I feel they are trying to divide us. I feel excluded and discriminated against for being part of the union. I'm fighting for a union contract because I want fairness for myself and my coworkers. I want job security. Right now, I feel like I'm just a number to them. I want to feel like we matter. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to provide public comment this morning? All right, thank you. That will close our public comment section. Madam Secretary, the first on our agenda item today is the approval of the prior month's dispositions.
Pursuant to NRS 241.035, this item is the consideration of the approval of the Nevada Gaming Control Board disposition for January 2023 and the disposition for the special meeting held on January 25th.
Although I was not on the board last month, I reviewed the dispositions and the transcripts of the meetings. I know that the dispositions and transcripts were also provided to Member Watkins and Member Assad. So I would entertain a motion to approve the January dispositions if one of my colleagues would like to make a motion.
I'll make that motion, Chair Hendrick.
All right, Madam Secretary.
I move for approval of the control board dispositions for January 11, 2023 and January 25th, 2023.
Madam Secretary.
Assad?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chair Hendrick?
Aye. Great. That brings us to our first non-restricted agenda item. Madam Secretary, please read in non-restricted number 1.
Non-restricted number 1 is the application of Entain PLC for an amendment to their order of registration. It is also the applications of GBC Holdings USA, Robert Hoskin, Yetta Nygaard Anderson, Robert Wood, and Joseph Simon for finding of suitability and/or licensure as a manager, key executive, and/or officer as noted on the agenda.
Good morning, Chair Hendrick, Member Assad, Member Watkins. For the record, I am Erica Okerberg. I am Nevada Gaming Counsel to Entain and its subsidiaries. It's an honor to be before you in connection with your first hearing, Chair Hendrick, Member Assad, and of course, always a pleasure to be before you, Member Watkins. Here with me today from the company are Yetta Nygaard Anderson, the Chief Executive Officer, Joe Simon, the Chief Information and Technology Officer, Rob Hoskin, the Chief Governance Officer, and Simon Zinger, the Group General Counsel. We would like to thank you for waiving the appearance of Rob Wood, who has previously been licensed and appeared before the Board and Commission. We would note, just for the sake of the record, that there were no areas of concern or issues with his individual investigation. And then also, last but not least, present via Zoom, we should have Scott Shearer. Mr. Shearer is BetMGM's outside Nevada Gaming Counsel. He doesn't plan to make any affirmative remarks or presentation. However, in an abundance of caution, because he is BetMGM's counsel and they are on the agenda, he's here in case the board needs anything from him on BetMGM in particular. We have provided via the executive secretary a slide deck, which we ask to be treated as confidential and not be made part of the public record. As far as our presentation, I would like to begin by providing an overview for you of the applications. We would then begin to walk through the slide deck, which will include an update on the company and a recent regulatory matter. And then we could turn to the individuals so they can provide you a bit about themselves, if that's acceptable.
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So the applications before you today fit into 2 general categories, the first of which is new individual applicants. That includes Ms. Nygaard Anderson and Mr. Simon, who are first-time applicants in Nevada. We also have some cleanup items in relation to Entain's 50% ownership of BetMGM. Member Watkins, you may recall, and Chair Hendrick and Member Assad, you may have seen in the report that BetMGM and MGM were before the board and commission in September and November for a similar item for MGM's 50% ownership of BetMGM. However, just for the sake of the record, I'll provide an overview. BetMGM LLC is a member-managed LLC. The two entity members, which are GVC Holdings USA Inc. on the Entain side, and MGM Sports and Interactive Gaming LLC on the MGM side, are the LLC managers. Per the governance documents, the individuals can be appointed as members of the Board of Members Representatives. In discussions with board staff, BetMGM's counsel, and MGM's counsel, it was determined that the best licensing structure would be for those entities to be licensed as the LLC managers, and then the individuals to be licensed as key employees or key executives for their roles on the Board of Members Representatives. As mentioned, MGM has already come before you with their applications. We're before you today in connection with Entain's. This includes an amendment to the order of registration, and then for 3 individuals to apply, which includes Ms. Nygaard Anderson, Mr. Hoskin, and Mr. Wood, who each serve on the Board of Members Representatives. With that overview, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the applications. Otherwise, I'll provide an outline to you on the company presentation.
Any questions this time?
No questions for me, Chair.
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Please
Wonderful.
proceed with presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the company presentation, we will begin with Ms. Nygaard Anderson, who will walk through a company update on Entain. Then Mr. Simon will provide an update on stadium technology. Mr. Hoskin will then speak with you about sustainability and licensing matters. And then Mr. Zinger will come up to speak with you about the British Gambling Commission matter. We sometimes refer to the British Gambling Commission as the GC for short. So I'll start with Ms. Nygaard Anderson, and I believe she's going to start with slide 3 of your slide deck.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Hendrick. Good morning, Member Watkins, and good morning, Member Assad. For the record, my name is Jette Nygaard Andersen, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Entain PLC, and I'm also a Director of BetMGM. And thank you for the opportunity this morning to present Entain. As Erica said, I'll provide an update, and my colleague Joseph Simon will follow and talk about Stadium. And my short presentation will go through page 3 to 9 in the deck that we have provided to you this morning. And I'll focus on the strategy of the company, the leadership, and initiatives around diversity, equality, and inclusion. So if I can ask you to turn to page 3 in the deck. Entain is a global leading sports betting and gaming group that generates around $5 billion in net gaming revenue annually. We are a listed company on the London Stock Exchange and a constituent member of the FTSE 100. Well, in fact, we are among the 50 largest companies in the UK by market capitalization. And our focus is to operate only in markets where we can obtain or hold domestic licenses. We are a highly diversified business. In fact, we are the global operator with the most diversified domestically licensed operations. And much of that global growth has come via successful M&A. Another differentiator is what we call our platform. So that is our technology and our capabilities. And we own and control our technology. And that platform supports both our online businesses as well as our retail businesses globally. If I can ask you to turn to page 4. So our vision is to be a world leader in betting, gaming, and interactive entertainment, providing a safe and trusted entertainment platform for our customers. And in fact, we put our customers front and center of our business and the decisions that we take. Since I became CEO, we've been on a deliberate mission to transform the business. And 2 years ago, we launched a new strategy, which you can see on this page. And it puts growth and sustainability on equal footing. I firmly believe that the most sustainable business in our industry will also be the most successful. As part of this is, of course, being a responsible operator and caring for our customers as well as our people. And we understand the role that we play in society and in our community in which we operate. And my colleague, Robert Hoskin, will talk to you later about our foundation, which is also very active. Moving now to page 5. There are many big numbers on this page, and I will not go through them all, but it tells the story of the scale and diversification of our global business. We have a history of impressive growth, and that we see can continue in the years to come. We're also a strong business financially. We just released our Q4 market updates, and we recorded record revenues, record active customers, and we expect our full year EBITDA to be around $1.2 billion. And we also have a very strong balance sheet. In the lower right-hand corner of this slide, I would just like to mention ARC, which is our pioneering approach to customer protection. It uses behavioral indicators, data science, and artificial intelligence to assess risk, and then it works in the background, real time, and proactively to identify risk of player behavior. And we can then intervene in real time and protect our customers. And Robert Hoskin will talk more about this technology later on. Turning to page 6. And here I show you our executive leadership team. I'm very proud that it's a diverse team and a very experienced team, and we bring a wealth of experience. Many of us have long careers also outside our industry, which means that we can bring new ideas and innovation. I'm very excited to work with such a great team, and most importantly, we share the passion for Entain, but we also share our visions and our value. Turning you now to page 7. Promoting diversity, equality, and inclusion at Entain, but in general, of course, is very important to myself as well as it is to Entain. I want all of our 28,000 colleagues to feel that Entain is a safe place to work and that they can thrive here. As one of only 6 female CEOs in the top 100 companies in the UK, I have a platform from which I can drive change around diversity, equality, and inclusion. And I'm proud that nearly half of our employees are female, and that 1/3 of our technologists are also women, which is way beyond any other company in our industry and in general. We also have 1/3 of our board members being women, and we have multiple nationalities on our board, including 2 Americans, both with background in the industry. Turning you to page 8 and talking a little bit about diversity, equality, and inclusion. Our push for diversity, equality, and inclusion at Entain will, of course, never stop. But here on this page, you will see some of our initiatives within the group. The latest being a returnship program that we have launched with McLaren Racing Formula One team to bring women, especially with STEM or science and technology backgrounds, back to the workplace. In addition, our foundation also support a wide range of diversity projects globally. Here in Nevada, we are part of the University of Las Vegas Blackfire project, which is supporting innovative and diversity-focused technology projects. And turning you to page 9. So before I hand over to my colleague, Joseph Simon, I wanted to give you a brief update on BetMGM, which is our very successful 50-50 joint venture with MGM Resorts International. And we are all proud of our achievement, building BetMGM from scratch in less than 4 years, based on the Entain technology, products, CRM, and expertise. For the year of 2022, BetMGM recently gave a business update, and they reported net revenues of $1.44 billion. And we expect to be profitable in the second half of this year. We are proud to operate also in your state And just recently, we opened a new retail sportsbook at the Cosmopolitan. I'll end my presentation here, but I am happy to take questions before I hand over to my colleagues.
Any questions from the board?
None at this time for me.
No questions. I just think you are remarkable for the jet lag you must have suffered flying over here from Denmark. When did you get in town?
So I got in just around midnight.
Okay, well, that was an excellent
But you
presentation.
called out my my accent, and yes, I am Danish. If you were wondering.
Thank you, Ms. Nygaard Anderson. Good
Thank you.
presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Hendricks, Member Watkins, Member Assad, and Madam Secretary. I'm Joseph Simon. I'm the Chief Information and Technology Officer at Entain and Stadium. Please turn to slide 10. Slide 10 provides a brief overview of Stadium. Will do. Slide 10 provides a brief overview of Stadium, which is based in Nevada, in Vegas, and the services it provides across the country. So quick overview of Stadium. Stadium Technology Group is a fully owned subsidiary of Entain. It's been based in Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada, since its launch in 2009. Stadium provides state-of-the-art sports and racebook management software to numerous regulated gaming operators in the United States, even outside Nevada. Stadium holds a manufacturer and distributor's license in the state of Nevada. In addition, it's an approved operator of information service license, and as such, authorized to provide wagering-related information, including odds and line information to licensed sportsbooks. Stadium's Prime Line Enterprise Edition race and sportsbook management software is currently operational in 21 properties in Nevada, including all MGM properties. Stadium is also live in 11 other states outside Nevada in the US. Locally, Stadium employs 25 skilled developers, QA engineers, UAT testers, and HR compliance staff. I'm happy to answer any questions about Stadium at this stage. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Mr. Hoskin to discuss our sustainability strategy, licensing status, and recent responsible gambling initiatives.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. Questions from the board?
None for me.
None by me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Hendrick, Member Watkins, and Member Assad. I'm Robert Hoskin, Entain's Chief Governance Officer and a board member of BetMGM. I'd like to provide a brief overview of our sustainability and regulatory licensing initiatives, beginning with slide 11. So turning to slide 11, we've set out our sustainability charter, a central limb to Entain's strategy. And under this charter, we have 4 columns. The first being regulation, under which we have committed to only doing business in markets where we have a domestic license. I will pick up on this shortly. The second column is responsibility and adopting a scientific approach to responsible gambling. Here, we've rolled out our industry pioneering Advanced Responsibility and Care Program, or ARC for short. We built 26 player protection modules coupled with AI and BI tools, which monitor individual player behavior in real time on our platform. Where a player's risk profile starts to trend outside of its normal parameters, this triggers a number of responses from Entain to the player, which allows us to disrupt this trend and steer the player back to their normal risk characteristics. We've also tied part of our annual bonus program to delivering on responsible gambling targets. The third limb relates to ensuring Entain has best-in-class corporate governance, which has resulted in a strengthened board and enhanced processes and controls. And finally, the fourth limb is people and communities, under which we aim to make Entain the best place to work and reduce our environmental impact, with the aim of the group reaching a net zero carbon position by 2035. We're also investing $124 million over a 5-year period into responsible gambling projects and supporting community initiatives wherever we have a footprint. As mentioned, Entain is focused on only doing business in countries where it has a local license. Slide 12 shows 32 countries in which we are licensed, including the United States, where we are currently licensed in 25 states. I'm happy to take any questions now or after the presentation about regulatory strategy, which is more conservative than other international sports betting and iGaming operators. Slide 13 shows that Entain has implemented its commitment to sustainability by means of launching a variety of educational and ESG partnerships in the US. Entain educates college as well as professional athletes about responsible gambling practices. Amongst others, its US foundation works directly with the NCAA, as well as numerous colleges up and down the country. You can see that Entain has launched other responsible gambling projects that are dedicated either to the US general public, such as Gamble Responsibly America app, or the industry-wide 12 Responsible Gaming Principles Pledge, or individual vulnerable groups, including military veterans. And specifically in Nevada, Entain is a platinum member of the Nevada Council on Problem Gambling and has launched several projects with UNLV, including diversity-focused ones. Slide 14 shows that Entain's US-facing responsible gambling program has won multiple industry accolades, both on the business and individual level. Entain has achieved the UK GamCare's Safer Gambling Standard and has also secured membership of leading global ESG indices. I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we will turn to Ms. Ockerberg to introduce the next section of our slides. My colleague, Mr. Zinger, will summarize the British Gambling Commission regulatory settlement.
Thank you, Mr. Hoskin. Questions from the board?
Yeah, just a quick one. When you were talking about responsibility, you mentioned that you developed new technology that allowed you to detect certain trends, and when a player is operating outside of those trends, then there are ways to that you disrupt that trend. In what ways could you talk about the ways that the trend is disrupted?
So we can interact with the player, depends on the risk and how it's building. But if it's if the risk is changing and we think it's correct to just interact with the player, so message them and highlight that there are gambling controls, that they may have been playing for a long period of time, they may wish to take a break. So interactions along that sort of line. And then if the behavior is becoming more extreme, then we'll actually step in and intervene, and we may stop them from playing for a period just so that they can reset. So we're trying to tailor whether it's an interaction or an intervention according to the risk profile of the individual player and what's happening to that individual player.
Okay, so kind of a chat feature or cease playing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
None by me, thank you. Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
For the sake of the record, again, Erica Okerberg, I just want to make a few brief introductory remarks to the next section, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Zinger, who will be able to provide a lot more detail about the British Gambling Commission settlement and any other questions you might have about that. As I think you've heard here today, Entain has really taken great strides and has sought to become an industry leader, particularly around the areas of responsible gaming and technology-based tools. Having said that, there is always room for improvement. Entain has grown its legal and its compliance teams, and they have continually evolved their policies and procedures, including beyond what was the minimum required to expand from historical and legacy practices. However, as mentioned by the board at the special meeting last month, the British Gambling Commission has become more active in issuing enforcement actions against its licensees. This has included Nevada licensees and affiliates as well. Rather than issuing industry guidance or amending regulations, this is one way that can be used to help put the industry on notice of trends, policies, and changes in interpretation and law by the GC. Having said that, the two hot button areas that have been particularly interesting for the GC have been the areas of customer affordability and the scope and level of measures necessary for customer diligence for things like source of funds checks and KYC measures. As far as the actual reviews, as I mentioned over the past few years, there have been many companies who have been subject to these reviews, including other Nevada licensees and affiliates. This has resulted in varying settlements and fines, including another one in 2020 for another company of 13 million pounds. Entain was no exception. Following a review of its legacy policies and procedures, Entain entered into a voluntary settlement with the GC in August of 2022, and this resulted in the payment of 17 million pounds for socially responsible purposes. Notably, this was a voluntary settlement and not a fine. Mr. Zinger will provide more details about that distinction in just a moment, but just a couple of other quick points that I think are important to help frame the discussion that you'll have with Mr. Zinger. First, by the time the settlement was entered into, Entain had already ameliorated its policies and procedures beyond the wishes of the GC. Additionally, as mentioned earlier in the presentation, in the interim period, Entain and its staff had received numerous industry recognitions for its robust responsible gaming measures and for all of their customer interaction tools that they've created. With that overview, I will turn it over to Mr. Zinger, who will go through this in some more detail with you, and he, along with Mr. Hoskin, can answer any questions you have, either on that or more generally on compliance and regulatory matters.
Good morning, Chair Hendrick, Member Watkins, Member Assad. My name is Simon Zinger. I'm the General Counsel at Entain. I joined the company 2 years ago in February 2021. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. If you turn to slide 16 of the pack, you'll see an overview of the areas that I'd like to outline for you. And the first one I'd like to start with is the regulatory landscape in Great Britain. Licensees in Great Britain operate under the Gambling Act, which became law in 2005 by a series of licensing conditions and guidelines. These are supplemented from time to time with enforcement proceedings by the Gambling Commission, which sometimes comes with changes in interpretation or new guidance. In advance of updating the Gambling Act, a white paper has been expected to clarify the direction of travel for future regulation. The white paper has been expected for more than a year now, but has still not been issued. In the meantime, you can see on slide 17 that the GC remains very active in enforcement proceedings and sharing their evolving interpretation. And we, in turn, are making efforts to not only be compliant, but also to work with them cooperatively, transparently, and constructively. We have made many refinements to our approach and continue to do so, both from a process perspective and a technology perspective, as you've heard, and we are sharing these improvements over time with the Gambling Commission. Turning now to the concept of a regulatory settlement. This is essentially an approach that is taken to achieve an agreed and cooperative outcome, as opposed to formal fines or legal proceedings. As you can see from slide 18, it is suitable in situations where the licensee works with the regulator in a timely and transparent manner and demonstrates insights into what remedial actions are needed. Moving to the timeline on slide 19, you will see that the review process started in 2020 and went through a number of stage gates, during which time we interacted with the GC. The review itself covered the period of December 2019 to October 2020. You will see on the slide a reference to a regulatory panel being requested by Entain in May 2022. This was because we disagreed with a large number of the preliminary findings of the Gambling Commission and believed, on the advice of counsel, that we had solid and reasonable grounds to dispute them. However, in order to bring the 2-year process to a close and avoid further protracted legal proceedings, Entain offered a regulatory settlement based on mutual agreement and findings that Entain was willing to accept. Moving now to slides 20 and 21. These set out the key issues on which we agreed with the Gambling Commission and where we took prompt remedial action even before conclusion of the regulatory settlement. And I want to stress that in no case was there a finding of any actual criminal spend by the relevant players during this investigation. Slide 23 sets out in far more detail the remedial actions taken. For example, you'll see a number of actions taken around thresholds, affordability triggers, risk assessments, policies and procedures, and enhanced training for our staff. If you move back to slide 22, you'll see the actual details of the settlement for the two licensee companies. And these are all set out in the Gambling Commission's public statement as well. And finally, moving forward to slide 24, this mentions a review that the Gambling Commission initiated after the regulatory settlement was concluded of the personal management licenses of 4 Entain colleagues, one of whom is no longer with Entain, who has moved on to another company. But these individuals are fully cooperating and have answered all the questions put to them by the Gambling Commission. And we await the Gambling Commission's preliminary findings. Thank you for your attention. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and Mr. Hoskin may help me if necessary.
Thank you for that. You answered most of my questions. They were all centered around what the remedial measures were, and I appreciate you providing that information before I had to ask.
Thank you, Chair.
Very helpful. That's what I was interested in, is what did you recognize as a company when this investigation started by the UKGC? What did you do before they got involved? And then what did they point out? And what did you do even after that? You walked through that very well for me, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board?
I'd echo the chair's comments and thank you for addressing those issues affirmatively as to what the remedial measures were. And I think, as council stated earlier, we recognize the regulatory landscape in Great Britain. So I don't have any questions with regard to that.
Thank you.
No questions by me. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, that concludes our company presentation. If now is the appropriate time, I would like to bring up each of the individuals to introduce themselves.
Are there any other questions on the company presentation before individuals?
None for me, Chair.
None by me. Thank you.
Please proceed. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'd like to bring back up first Ms. Nygaard Anderson to provide an overview of her background and job duties and responsibilities.
Jette Nygaard Andersen, CEO of Entain, for the record. And thank you again, Chair Hendrick, Member Watkins, and Member Assad. I was appointed CEO of Entain in January 2021. And before that, I had served on the Entain board as a non-executive board member since December of 2019. And as we discussed earlier, wondering about my accent, I was born in Denmark and I am a Danish citizen. I still live there, but as you can imagine, I travel every week for work. I took my master's degree in finance many years ago, of course, at the University of Copenhagen, but I later studied at INSEAD in Paris, as well as Columbia University in New York. Before joining Entain, most of my career, more than 20 years, have been in media and entertainment and sport and digital consumer businesses. And I've worked internationally for more than 20 years by now. So that was a little bit about my history. In terms of my responsibilities, well, as the CEO of Entain, I am ultimately responsible for the company. I'm responsible for the strategy, the performance of the company, the culture and the values, and of course, our people. So the people that you met, some of my colleagues here from the executive committee, they report directly into me, and I then report to the board of Entain PLC. I also serve as a director of BetMGM, our joint venture here in the US, and I'm a non-executive director of a company called Coloplast, which is a public listed company and one of the world's largest medtech companies. So nothing to do with this industry. So I've just passed my 2 years as CEO, and being one of few female women leading a large global company, I am aware of my role as a mentor as well as a role model. And as I said in my company presentation, I'm keen to use my platform, if you will, to promote diversity. I've put significantly focus on these areas within our overall ESG agenda since I joined the company. I also support global gaming women, and I have established several networks for women as well as other minorities. And a personal passion for me is to support girls and young women, especially when it comes to getting them excited about technology and science and gaming. That was what I planned to say about myself, but I'm happy to take any questions from the board.
Thank you. Very impressed with your background and super impressed with your travel schedule. That's a lot of frequent flyer miles that you're putting on. So good. I didn't have any questions. Board members, did you have questions?
I don't have questions or concerns related to your background, but it is very impressive. And thank you for your wonderful presentations here before the board today.
Thank you.
Just a stellar CV resume. I'm really impressed as well. Congratulations for breaking the glass ceiling. And as someone who has a female daughter in law school, a female granddaughter, another female daughter, you are a role model, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for seeing us.
Thank you. Now, next, I would like to bring up Mr. Simon, who is the CITO.
Good morning again. I'm Joseph Simon. I was appointed to my current position with Stadium effective the 1st of Jan 2022, and to Entain effective July 4th, 2022. But I've been with the company since 2021. June of 2021. A little bit of my background. I completed my schooling in India, bachelor's and postgrad, one from Loyola and one from XLRI. After that, I spent a couple of years with a conglomerate in India that was involved in a bunch of activities, and then ended up joining a consulting company that sent me to the US for a little while on insurance, and then spent a couple of years in New Zealand in the banking sector. After that, I moved back to the US, spent time with Reader's Digest and then with Booz Allen Hamilton for many years. With Booz Allen Hamilton, I initially spent time in the financial sector in New York, and then moved over to media during one of the downturns, I think 92. And the media was just coming up pretty big. And I've been in the media sector since then. Soon after that, I joined Viacom, one of our clients, as a second in command for technology. And then sadly, a week before 9/11, I took over as a CIO. Not the greatest transition during that time. I spent over 12 years at Viacom, leading over time. I took over all aspects of technology, IT, digital, broadcast, production, and studios. Pretty exciting time with acquisitions and divestitures happening all the time, but we managed pretty well. Then I left to run the digital transformation effort at Condé Nast. And after 4 years there, I moved over to a company called Encompass, which as their CEO, to manage their globalization efforts. Encompass has broadcast about 1,600 channels across the globe, including people like ABC and CBS and BBC. After Encompass, I spent a little bit of time at Vice Media, and then Activate, a consulting firm, and then joined Entain. I think I'm second to Yeta in terms of frequent flyer miles. Yeah. At Entain, I handle the central technology function that includes customer-facing and enterprise-related functions, both sides. Responsible for the ongoing software development and the operational activities around the tech platform. At Stadium, as a CITO, I'm responsible for the technology and operational aspect of the software division. As a personal thing aside, I guess, I'm a trustee this Connecticut chapter of an organization called GoPio, that is an Indian charitable organization that looks to promote and assist the Indian diaspora across the world and providing assistance to local communities as we see it's appropriate. Additionally, I'm also president of the local cricket club called the Mad Dogs Cricket Club in Connecticut. And we also provide opportunity for people to learn cricket. We do have a number of local folks who come in, and cricket follows a very traditional aspect of respect, listening to the umpires, not arguing. So we're trying. It's become pretty popular. We also have started a juniors team and a women's team as well. So if you have any questions for me, otherwise I'll turn it back.
Thank you. Again, very impressive background. In some of my former jobs, I dealt a lot with Viacom, Univision, Vice Media, and all very well-run companies. And nice to see that you're so high up in those organizations. So very nice background. Cricket, I do not understand, but I do like the fact that there's no arguing with the umpire. Speeds the game up.
Anytime you want a lesson.
Good. I might need it. The crowds are very large. I know the TV audiences are very large, but it's probably like you trying to understand American football rules and trying to explain that in India. It's hard to understand, but appreciate it. Thank you for all that. Questions from board members?
Thank you for your presentation. Wonderful background. I don't have any areas of concern. You're also a member of the compliance committee, is that correct?
Yes.
And do your obligations as Chief Information Technology Officer and a member of the compliance committee intersect in any way?
Well, as long as it applies to technology and
Mhm.
anything we can do to help in that area,
Mhm.
it does.
Yeah. Are there any specific instances that?
Like for instance, ARC. ARC is something we built. and that's
Oh,
what-
okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. I don't have any areas of concern, and I don't have any further questions, but thank you for your presentation.
Congratulations, Mr. Simon, on a very successful career. Very impressive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And next, although he's been licensed before because he's here, I thought we would have Mr. Hoskin come up and provide his background for you.
Good morning again. I am Robert Hoskin. I'd like to provide some background information on myself. I was born in the UK and raised near Oxford until I went to University College London in 1990, where I studied and successfully gained a law degree. I then joined KPMG and trained and qualified as a chartered company secretary, moving in 1998 into the investment management industry, working first for AXA Framlington, and then from 2001 for Aberdeen Asset Management. In 2005, I was headhunted to join the party poker operator, Party Gaming, which was in the process of listing on the London Stock Exchange at the time, and became their company secretary. I was then involved in 2011 in the merger of Party Gaming and bwin, the Austrian sports betting group, which formed bwin Party Digital Entertainment, and was given oversight of the combined group's legal function. In 2015, I was part of the team that sold bwin Party to GVC Holdings and was invited to stay with the combined group, overseeing the legal, compliance, regulatory affairs, and corporate secretarial functions. In 2018, I was involved in the acquisition of the Ladbrokes Coral business, and then GVC Holdings became Entain in 2020, and I joined the board of directors as the Chief Governance Officer in January 2021. I oversee the legal, compliance, regulatory affairs, and corporate secretariat for the group. I've lived in Gibraltar since 2005, and I'm married to Sian, and we have a wonderful 7-year-old daughter called Romilly. In relation to my charitable activities, these have been entwined with Entain's, and I've been the internal driving force behind our ESG strategy since 2018. And this has been one of my key passions, and I chair the ESG steering group. In particular, it's important to me that we support aspiring athletes in as many sports as possible, So I brokered the partnership with the charity Sports Aid back in 2018, which funds athletes who are aiming to represent their country at national and international level, such as future Olympic and Paralympic athletes. Many of these athletes are relying on funding from family and friends to take part in competitions, and these can often be very costly. We therefore have been providing over £1 million, £500,000 worth of funding for over 150 athletes. And I'm delighted to say we saw our first gold medalist at the Tokyo Olympics in 2021, which we're very proud of. It's also important to me as a father of a young child that kids can access sports locally in their area. That is why we've also been working on an initiative called Pitching In, where we support the lower level soccer leagues in the UK who may need new soccer kits, goalposts, new grass laying on their football grounds. And this ensures that children and adults can enjoy the benefits the sports bring. And we've donated over £600,000 over the last 3 years to these clubs across the United Kingdom. I'm happy to take any questions on my background. Otherwise, I'll hand over to Ms. Hockerberg.
Thank you for that. And I know you've been before this board before, so I appreciate you updating us a little bit on your history and what you're doing currently. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming today. I didn't have any specific questions because you have been here before, so thank you. Other questions?
Thank you for your presentation. I don't have any questions or areas of concern.
Thank you.
And no questions, just want to compliment you for a stellar resume and an excellent career, and your charitable work with working with kids in sports. It's you have no idea how incredibly important it is for kids to have an outlet and something to do by way of athletics, and it also helps their transition into academia. A lot of kids fall between the cracks because there's just no outlet, nothing to do, and your work in the sports field is really something to be commended. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And with that, that concludes our affirmative presentation. I just want to make a few final remarks if I could. First, just to note for the sake of the record, we have reviewed draft number 1 of the 3rd revised order of registration with the date of January 4. We believe it is in proper form. Second, I would just like to express my thank you to the agents and board staff for all of their help and professionalism on this. We really greatly appreciate it. And lastly, just thank you to the board for your time in allowing us to give this presentation. And we would request a positive recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ms. Okerberg, and thank you for the presentation and all of your individuals who came before us today. Great presentation. Especially impressed with the art program that you said you've actually created. So appreciate that. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the questions I had were primarily around the UKGC investigation and the remedial measures that were taken. So that's appreciated because that's what we will be expecting. If you ever see anything in the state of Nevada, we expect you to see it before we see it if you can. And then if we see it first, we expect you to then cooperate with us, which you fully did through the UK investigation. And so that's what we expect of licensees. And we appreciate your forthcomingness both there and then telling us about what happened. So thank you for that. I didn't have any specific questions on the presentation. Board members, Member Watkins.
Thank you for all of your presentations before the board here today and your affirmative addresses of the issues of note. And I don't have any further questions or concerns, and I'm happy to support the application.
And no questions by me. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for your remarks.
If there's no other discussion, I would entertain a motion on non-restricted 1.
I will make that motion, Chair Hendrick. I move to recommend approval of non-restricted item number 1 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert pursuant to the 3rd revised order, draft number 1, dated January 4th, 2023.
I'll second that.
Member Assad?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chairman Hendrick?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming today.
Thank you.
Brings us to non-restricted item number 2, which was removed from the agenda, correct, Madam Secretary?
Correct.
That is correct. So then we go to non-restricted number 3. If you could read that into the record, please.
Non-restricted number 3 is the application of Olympia LB LLC for a transfer of interest as noted on the agenda. It is also the applications of Robin Nedza, Gary Goet, and Jeffrey Canarelli for licensure as a member or manager as noted on the agenda. It is also the application by Mint Casino Inc. doing business as Legends Bay Casino to convert to an LLC to be known as Mint Casino LLC doing business as Legends Bay Casino and to add, remove, or modify conditions to a license. Finally, you have the applications of Legends Gaming Partners LLC, Gary Goet, DeCourcy Graham Jr., Robin Nedza, and Courtney Cardinal for licensure as a 100% member, manager, key executive, and/or key employee of Mint Casino LLC.
Good morning, Dennis Gutwald with the law firm of McDonald Carano. With me is Robin Nedza of the Olympia Group and Legends Gaming. Most of this application is just housekeeping. Olympia Legends was considered in June. All of the individuals on the application were individually addressed at that time, as was the application. First, we have a transfer of interest. The company is awarding Robin a 1% interest. She's been before you a number of times before. We have licensures as managers. This is just a bookkeeping or housekeeping cleanup. Those individuals have been approved before. We've asked for some modifications or removals of conditions. We're asking for removal of conditions before 2022. Those are legacy conditions that really aren't applicable anymore. And then finally, we just have a bunch of licensing for officers of the new LLC versus they were already officers of the preceding corporation. And I think I forgot to mention, we have a conversion. With that, we'll open it up for questions. Robin is here to answer all of them.
Thank you, Mr. Gutwald, and thank you for coming today. Ms. Nedza, ask you to be here today. I know and understand that you've been here several times before the board, but today being licensed, request for actual ownership, just wanted to have you tell us a little bit about how that came about.
Oh, certainly. Thank you, Chair Hendrick and Member Watkins, Member Saad. Appreciate you having me here this morning. For the record, my name is Robin Nedza. I am the Chief Financial Officer of Olympia LB and for Legends Bay Casino. By way of background, I came up through public accounting back in Arizona, transferred to Nevada about 6 years into my career, and a few years later landed at Olympia and have been there 22 years now through an exciting evolution of roles over time as Olympia gets into different projects. It's been quite an exciting ride. The 1% membership interest transfer, I think, really just reflects that I work for a great group of individuals who recognize, appreciate, and want to reward the contribution of their team. And so the timing of that is really kind of commensurate with the evolution of my role in regard to this project and for Olympia.
That's great. That's the way I read the investigative report as well, is that it was recognizing you for all of your years of hard work. So very appreciative of some management and ownership that recognizes employees' hard work. So glad to see that in your application. I didn't have any questions at this time. Did board members have questions?
No particular questions, no issues or area of concern. But you are a very humble woman. Without, you didn't recognize the fact, as the chair pointed out, that this transfer of interest. I understand that the purpose is to recognize your hard work in general, and particularly in the development of Legends Bay. So congratulations to you on that. And I'm sure you're wonderful, and you've been there for 22 years, so that shows your commitment. And then I'd ask, in the purpose of the transfer to an LLC or the conversion to an LLC, that was just for tax purposes. Is that correct?
Tax and organizational reasons, yes. Okay. Yeah, cleanup and consistency more than anything.
Okay. And how are the operations at Legends Bay?
An exciting ride. Yeah. We opened the evening of August 30th of last year, so we've been open just over 5 months, had an overwhelming response in our first few weeks. A lot of first looks, very gracious response from the community with no marketing whatsoever. Kind of started doing the marketing and growing our database around mid-October, and that continues to be our focus, to grow that database, to grow loyalty through customer service and various offerings and amenities. Response from the public so far has been very favorable. They like the mix of our slot machines, they like the guest experience, they like the layout of the building. For our restaurants, Duke's is quickly becoming a go-to destination for high-end steakhouse in Northern Nevada. And our food truck hall, which is a little bit unique to the
I
area, is
remember that.
becoming a go-to for the quick eat. So it kind of creates, it's a wide variety of that. So we have had, in part because of the huge acceptance right from the get-go, we've had some staffing changes and attrition during that time, and Northern Nevada does remain a very strong labor market. So I would say if there's any challenges, that's been the biggest challenge so far. But it's also kept us moving in the right direction, I think, and the changes that we have made long-term are all going to be for the positive.
That's good. I recall we did have a long conversation on the record about the food truck hall and the
Duke's.
food and the steak. So I recall that. So I'm glad to hear it's going well.
It is one of our passions.
Okay. I didn't have any further questions, Chair.
Okay, no questions, but just congratulations on becoming an owner of a casino operation. That's really quite remarkable. And just a shout out to Mr. Goet for having the vision and the foresight to recognize good talent and rewarding that talent. I think employees up and down the ladder will work much better when they have a stake in the game. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I didn't have any other questions. As Mr. Gutwald explained, it's primarily cleanup, organizational cleanup, and then the request for the one transfer. So unless there's other discussion, I would entertain a motion on this non-restricted item.
I move to recommend approval of non-restricted item number 3 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert, removing the following conditions. Applications must be filed for the position of manager at this property as well as for the positions of president and chief financial officer to the extent that those positions are filled by individuals who have overall supervisory responsibility for this location as well as other properties within 30 days of issuance of a state gaming license. Thereafter, applications for these positions must be on file with the Gaming Control Board at all times. And the other condition to be removed is the surveillance system must be reviewed by the Gaming Control Board, Enforcement Division, and administratively approved prior to the conduct of live gaming, and thereafter be maintained at or above the level as approved.
I'll second that motion.
Madam Secretary?
Member Assad?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chairman Hendrick?
Aye.
Thank you. And thanks
Thank
to
you.
Thank
Agent
you.
Justin Schweitzer for his help.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank
And that brings us to non-restricted number 4. If you'd read that into the record, Madam Secretary.
Non-restricted number 4 are the applications of David Samber, Monta Ozolina, and Robert Brimmer Jr. for finding of suitability and or licensure as a managing member, manager, and or key executive as noted on the agenda.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Hendrick, Member Watkins, Member Assad. Congratulations on your appointments, gentlemen. Good morning, Madam Secretary. I'm Sonia Vermees. I'm a shareholder with the law firm Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck. I'm here this morning representing these 3 individuals in connection with their positions with the Venetian Group. The first individual listed on your agenda is David Samber. He's co-lead partner of private equity at Apollo Global Management, Inc. Thank you very much for waiving his appearance. My understanding is there were no areas of interest or concern with his investigation. He has also been previously licensed and has appeared before both the board and the commission in connection with Apollo's interests with Caesar and with AGS. The application before you this morning is his role as the managing member of AP9 Pioneer Boat Co. LLC. In such, he has complete authority to manage that entity, and that entity is the sole member of Pioneer Topco GP LLC, where the slate of managers sit. VoteCo is also the general partner of AP9 Pioneer Holdings LP, the entity that aggregates the limited partner holdings of the private investment funds that are managed by Apollo and which invested in the Venetian. The Board of Managers of Pioneer Topco GP LLC is the governing body in the Venetian structure. Mr. Sambers sits on that Board of Managers. The board's role is to supervise and manage the business and affairs of the Venetian Group through its governance and control of Pioneer Topco GP LLC, including setting strategic goals, key business decisions, and overseeing and advising management. With that, we can move to the other two individuals on your agenda. The first is Ms. Monta Anzalina. She sits on the Board of Managers, and I'll let her come up and make an introduction.
Thank you, Sonia. Good morning, Monta Anzalina. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Member Watkins, Member Assad, Madam Secretary. I wanted to start by thanking the staff. I really appreciate their time, the thorough investigation, the thoughtful questions, and the professionalism throughout. We fully understand the workload that they are under and truly appreciate their time. A bit of my background for the record, as you can gather perhaps from my accent for those of you present, I am not from the great state of Nevada. I was born and raised in Riga, Latvia. It is a country in Northeastern Europe. I moved here to the United States first for university, attending the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, obtaining a degree, a Bachelor of Science with concentration in finance and accounting. After that, I moved to a professional role in investment banking, working across New York and London, and thereafter joining Apollo in the private equity investing space. At Apollo, I am a principal in private equity, and I'm part of the team that oversees the Venetian investment by the Apollo managed funds and the day-to-day oversight. We're here 1 year after the closing of the Venetian transaction, nearly 1 year after the closing. And as you know, as the team has been before you in the recent months, it has been a tremendous success. And that is truly a testament to our team members, every single one of our team members and their dedication, and of course, our world-class management team. It has been incredible to see what our team members have done in the last year, and in turn, the amazing initiatives that the management team has been able to roll out for our team members, everything from the little things, such as bringing back the ice cream in the team member dining room, to the bigger things. You mentioned everyone being part of the owners, being part of the financial success of the property. As you're aware, we rolled out the Venetian Appreciation Award, also known internally as the Red Coins program, that touches every single full-time flex team member. And we were able to make a distribution to the team members last December. The first one, hopefully, of many. As I stand here a year after, I really wanted to thank you for your partnership. I know between Apollo, Nevada, the gaming industry, it has been over a 15-year partnership, and I hope to be part of the story going forward for hopefully many years to come. Briefly, on the personal side, I am deeply involved with the recruiting, interviewing efforts for University of Pennsylvania, my alma mater, looking to recruit students from Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, so my home region, which is still significantly underrepresented, to provide them these incredible education opportunities that I was lucky to obtain. Thank you very much for your time.
That's great. Thank you. Appreciate it. And even though you live in New York and not from Nevada, you properly pronounced how to say Nevada. So that's important. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't have questions. Members?
A very impressive background. Welcome. And it's just funny that food seems to be trending today. I recall there was a comment on the commission about the ice cream, bringing the ice cream back. So congratulations on all the success so far in bringing the ice cream back.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations. Excellent career. You're doing really, really well. I was just curious, could you tell me a little bit more about that Red Coin program involving the employees at the Venetian?
Yes, gladly. And I may steal some of the thunder from Rob Rimmer, who's our CFO, who is going to talk about it more, but would gladly address this. So this is a broader initiative. Across industries, there's a broader initiative to involve employees as part of the success of businesses. There's a nonprofit called Ownership Works, and here, while it's not technically an ownership state, given there's a whole regulatory environment obviously here, we really are making every employee, every full-time flex employee, part of the financial success of the outcomes of the property. And so, it is over 7,000 team members at the Venetian. We're receiving their first payout based on the success of the company in this first, not even one full year since our ownership. And really, the idea behind it is twofold. One, it is to empower each and every team member to feel like they are part of the story and they are part of the difference. And I believe that since we've had the pleasure of being owners of the Venetian Resort, we've seen that the employee base is incredibly invested already. But this was that extra feeling of that what you believe and what you think matters. And so since we've instituted the program, we've seen an incredible amount of engagement from the team members. To the degree of folks come up to me when I'm on the property and share their ideas. The complaints, what is not going well, what could be improved. It's again everything from the little things to the bigger things. And that has resulted in a number of changes that have been made on the property and importantly, improving customer experience. And the second part of it is the important part is to allow participation in this upside, which typically not every team member in the organization gets, right? So the team members are keeping their base salaries, their tips, their cash bonuses, whatever they were historically eligible for they're keeping. The 401k matches back and so on and so forth. In addition to that, they now get this participation upside. And we truly believe in the Venetian Las Vegas story. And so we're really excited and believe that the upside is tremendous. And to be able to share in that with the team members is very, very powerful and personally very, very rewarding.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now Robert Rimmer, the Chief Financial Officer, will come up.
Good morning, Chair Hendricks, Member Watkins, Member Assad, Madam Secretary. It's great to be here again. Thank you for the opportunity for me to tell you a bit about my story. I actually moved to this community about 15 years ago with my fiance, who's now my wife, and our plan was to be here for 2 to 3 years. We're still here, and I'm happy I am. I've been the CFO of the Venetian for the past almost a year. I joined the business at closing on February 2nd. But backtracking a few years to explain kind of how I ended up here, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and attended Northwestern University for my undergraduate education, where I studied computer engineering and economics. After that, I joined a consulting firm, strategy consulting firm called LEK Consulting. And I traveled and saw a bunch of projects in different businesses. And I think at that point realized at least what I didn't know and decided to going back to school to achieve an MBA at the University of Chicago would be a good use of my time, which is what I did. I went there for 2 years. I studied finance and strategy. It was there I met my wife and a number of great friends. And Harrah's Entertainment at the time had a major effort to recruit MBAs into their system. I got recruited to Harrah's, which is now Caesars Entertainment, and spent about 12 years with that organization in a variety of finance roles. Ultimately, I became the SVP of corporate finance and worked for our last 3 CFOs and oversaw corporate finance, oversaw our strategy, a lot of our business development work and our efforts to invest and build new assets throughout the country and kind of new investments in Vegas, like the Link Promenade and the Wheel. Ultimately, I took on our entire analytics team for Caesars, which was a big part of the business and we thought, a competitive differentiator. And worked there for almost 12 years. I was part of the team that handed over ownership to the Eldorado Group that bought the business in the first part of 2020. At which point, I had a few months of personal time. I traveled with my wife and 2 kids. I have an 11-year-old son who's a big golfer. I have a 10-year-old daughter who's very creative, and she's into fencing. But we took a few months and traveled the country before Apollo called me late in 2020, indicating that they were looking to buy the Venetian, and they wanted my help to help do the diligence and to help put together business plans for the Venetian. I was asked to consult with them for about a year with the promise that I would be CFO at closing, which happened about a year ago. I've been with the business for 12 months, and as Monta mentioned, it's going extremely well. Financially, it's doing great. Culturally, we were the beneficiaries of an amazing employee culture built by Las Vegas Sands and Mr. Adelson. So we've looked to improve that through some of the initiatives that Monta mentioned. And we continue to build our plans to really invest and have the business achieve its full financial potential. So as I mentioned last time to the board and the commission, it's going to be a really busy 3 years for us starting this year with significant investment in property that'll drive a lot of financial growth, but then more opportunities for team members and better customer experience. With that, I'm happy to take any questions from the board.
Thank you. Wonderful background, and glad to see somebody with your experience in this role. That helps us as regulators know that if you see something, you're going to contact our agents immediately. So that's important to know. I didn't have any questions or concerns about your background. Questions from other members?
Good morning and welcome back. I like what you said about learning what you didn't know. I thought that stood out to me in your presentation. Thank you for your presentation. And I think sometimes the more educated you become, the more you realize how much you don't actually know, right? So I appreciate your, and commend you for your continued education and continued growth. And I don't have any questions or concerns related to your background.
Congratulations, Mr. Brimmer. Excellent career, excellent credentials, very impressive, and wish you all the best.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
I will just add, as Ms. Ozolina did, that we are grateful to the investigative team and in particular agents Kim Aramini and Brad Barnard for their work on the applications, and we ask for a recommendation of approval.
Thank you. Good presentation. I had no areas of concern in any of the applications. As you mentioned, Mr. Samber has been in front of the board and commission recently. I read up on some of his transcripts and recent licensing matters, approval matters, so I had no concern with him or the other applicants, and no other questions. Great presentation. Are there any questions or discussion from other board members?
Nothing further from me, Chair.
No, I'm fine with it. Thank you.
With that, then I'd entertain an item on non-restricted, item number 4.
I move to recommend approval of non-restricted item number 4 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert.
I'll second that motion.
Madam Secretary?
Member Assad?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chairman Hendrick?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next is non-restricted 5. Before we get to that, I see long-standing, long-serving former Nevada Gaming Commission Chairman Tony Alamo, Dr. Alamo in the audience. Thank you for showing up today. Nice to see you, Doctor. And Madam Secretary, please read into the record non-restricted item number 5.
Non-restricted number 5 is the application of Full House Resorts, Inc. for a continuous or delayed public offering. It is also the application of Stockman's Casino to guarantee securities and hypothecate assets in conjunction with a continuous or delayed public offering.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Hendrick, Member Watkins, Member Assad, Secretary Rupert. For the record, Sean McGinnis with Butler Snow on behalf of Full House Resorts, Inc. To my right is Louis Fenger, the Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer for Full House Resorts, Inc. This is a renewal of a shelf offering that the company's had. The first shelf offering that they received from the commission was in 2011. They got another one in 2014, renewed in 2017, renewed in 2020. These are 3-year renewals, and here again in 2023. For the record, Full House is traded on the NASDAQ exchange and has a stockholder equity in well at 10 times in excess of the $10 million minimum in Reg 16. So I just want to get that out there for the record. I thought what might be helpful is, since 2 of you are new to the board, and congratulations on your appointment, I thought it might be helpful for Mr. Fanger to maybe provide an update or just provide an outline of Full House, and then we can answer any questions, because Full House's Nevada properties are Stockton's Casino as referenced on the agenda, but also they have a lease at the Grand Lodge Casino, Hyatt and Village, but they have other operations in parts of the country. So if it's acceptable, I'll turn it over to Mr. Fanger.
Yes, that'd be helpful for us. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Hendrick, Member Watkins, Member Assad, and Secretary Rupert. Full House is a regional casino company, so we have 5 casinos throughout the U.S. We have the 2 that you probably know well here in Nevada, Stockman's, which is in Fallon by the big Navy base. We run the Grand Lodge Casino at the Hyatt in Lake Tahoe, which is a amazing facility. Elsewhere, we have a casino in Mississippi, which targets the New Orleans side of the border for what it's worth, over on Louisiana. We have a casino near Cincinnati. It also targets Indianapolis and Louisville, Kentucky. And then a casino in Colorado near Colorado Springs. We're at a little bit of a big turning point for us. We are imminently opening a brand new casino, a temporary casino in Waukegan, the northern suburbs of Chicago. That's a $100 million temporary facility that will run for 3 years, tear down, and then open a $400 million place in 2026. I literally leave here Sunday afternoon during the Super Bowl, and I'm sitting there in Waukegan until we open the doors. So opening is truly imminent. That's a big deal because it will more than double the size of our company EBITDA wise. And then later this year, we have a new casino in Colorado that's going to open. That'll put us at 3 times the size of where we are today. So 2 very big events happening this year for us. With that said, I do want to just express my gratitude for the shelf program that you guys have in place. It is amazingly useful, and for us has been particularly useful in the middle of what has been a relatively volatile few years in the financial industry. There are some days when I wake up and we can't access the markets, and a week later, all of a sudden the markets are shut down again. And by having this shelf, it is unbelievably helpful as we try to target those moments and try to avoid a situation like where COVID, where the market just shuts down and you can't access it all. So thank you for that.
Do you find that other jurisdictions don't have that flexibility for you to go to market?
Some do and some don't. Yeah, the ones that don't try to be relatively quick, but sometimes that quickness can be 2 weeks or 3 weeks before you get an approval, which during the COVID days, a 2 or 3 week delay could have shut you down entirely and out of the market, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McGinnis, do I understand how many shelves has Full House had over the years?
The first one was in 2011, and then 2014 they came back, and in 2017 renewed again, and renewed in 2020. So this would be the 5th shelf.
Do you know if all 5 of those were actually ended up being used?
Well, Lewis can probably answer that, because I believe that you.
I'm looking back, 2011 predates me, but 14, 17, and 20, I believe we did. The most recent one we've used at least twice, so I can tell you that.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. McGinnis?
Just for the record, we've reviewed the draft shelf order dated draft 1, January 5th, 2023. And that's acceptable. And then I also want to recognize Special Agent David Mueller, who's always been a pleasure to work with, very diligent, professional. Again, another fantastic experience with him. And also want to recognize Deputy Chief Teggio for his assistance with this as well. And we would ask for a positive recommendation.
Great, thank you. I didn't have any other questions. Board members, do you have questions or discussion?
The transaction meets the requirements of Regulation 16.115. I don't have any questions or concerns beyond that. Thank you for your presentation today.
Just congratulations on a excellent career. Nice presentation, Mr. McGinnis. I was just curious, where is the new property in Colorado going to be going up?
It's in the town of Cripple Creek, so there are 3 cities where you can have casinos, and so we're about 45 minutes from Colorado Springs.
Very good. Thank you.
If there's no other discussion, I would ask for a motion on non-restricted item number 5.
I will make that motion. I move to recommend approval of non-restricted item number 5 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert pursuant to shelf order draft number 1.
I'll second that motion.
And Madam Secretary?
Member Assad?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chairman Hendrick?
Aye. Thank you very much. And thank you for the presentation. Good luck with the new casino.
Thank you.
That brings us to non-restricted number 6, Madam Secretary.
Non-restricted number 6 is the application of Michael Ellis for finding of suitability and/or licensure as an officer as noted on the agenda.
Hello,
Morning.
Madam Secretary, members Watkins, Assad, and Chair Hendrick. I'm Greg Gimignani of the law firm of Dickinson Wright with the applicant Matt Ellis, who's applying for a finding of suitability as an officer of Excel Entertainment, a finding of suitability as an officer of Century Gaming, and a license as an officer of United Coin. With me also is Derek Harmer, General Counsel and Chief Compliance Officer with Excel. And at this time, I think if you'll permit, I'd like to turn things over to Matt to tell you a little bit about his background and his role at the company.
Thank you. Please do. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Member Watkins, Member Assad, Chair Hendrick, Madam Secretary. Thank you for letting me present here today. My name is Matthew Ellis, and I am the Chief Financial Officer of Excel. I was appointed that position in May of last year. I grew up in the Chicagoland area. I got my education at the University of Michigan, where I got a bachelor's in economics and a master's in accounting. From there, I started my career in public accounting at Deloitte, moved on to a management position and joined Excel. Briefly left Excel for a finance position and ended up returning, but in total, I've been with Excel for just over 5 years. At this point, I would also say I'm a father of 2 young girls. It's been a true pleasure. Parenting is a joy and a challenge all in one, especially growing up with only brothers, so I'm in foreign territory at times. But with that, thank you again for letting me be here. I'd also like to thank Agent Lopez and Supervisor Kaufman. They were beyond professional to work with, very helpful, supportive, and provided the proper guidance during the process. I'll take your questions at this time.
Thank you. I didn't see any areas of concern. Appreciate you cooperating throughout the investigation. And I didn't have any specific questions on your background or your applications. Member Watkins or Member Assad, did you have questions or discussions for Mr. Ellis?
Just out of curiosity, good morning and thank you for being here. What brought you back to Excel?
The opportunity of continued growth. I left on good terms, but they said we're going to pursue going public through a SPAC transaction, and it would be a great opportunity for you to come in and help us. And it seemed like a great way to continue growing my career.
Thank you. And you have any other issues or areas of concern? Well, you did go to U of M, so I went to state, so.
If it's any consolation, in my time, it was a rough year for U of M. State was doing very well.
It is consolation. Thank you. All right. No questions or concerns for me. Thank you.
No areas of concern for me either. Congratulations and good luck with those 2 girls.
Thank you.
Mr. Harmer, why don't you step forward and come to the podium and introduce yourself for the record?
Good morning.
Good morning.
For giving me an opportunity to present before you today. For the record, my name is Derek Harmer. I am the General Counsel and Chief Compliance Officer for Excel Entertainment. Member Watkins, Member Assad, and Chair Hendrick, it is good to see you again.
That's the only reason I had you come up here, so I'd hear you say that out loud. Thank you, Mr. Harmer.
Thank you very much.
I didn't have any other questions. If there's no other discussion, we could entertain a motion for non-restricted item number 6.
I will make that motion. I move to recommend approval of non-restricted item number 6 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert.
I'll second the motion.
Madam Secretary.
Member Assad?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chairman Hendrick?
Aye. Thank you very much, and good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that brings us to non-restricted number 7. Madam Secretary, if you'd read that into the record.
Non-restricted number 7 is the application of Daniel Grossbeck for finding of suitability and/or licensure as a key employee as noted on the agenda.
And I have a disclosure I'd like to make on this matter, which has nothing to do with this particular application or Mr. Grossbeck, but regarding non-restricted item number 7, I'd like to disclose that something's not required by the ethics laws, but is something that I want to do in keeping with my belief of full transparency. Back in 2002, approximately 20 years ago, the law firm I was of counsel with at the time, Jones Vargas, represented Golden Gaming, and I worked on Golden Gaming matters. This disclosure is not required by statute, has nothing to do with a gift, loan, pecuniary interest, or any commitment in a private capacity, nor involves any representation or counsel within the past year as contemplated by the Nevada revised statutes. Nevertheless, I wanted to put this statement on the record this one time in the interest of providing full transparency. Consequently, I will be fully participating and voting on this matter and any future matters relating to Golding Entertainment or its affiliated companies, unless, of course, other separate ethical considerations require disclosure and or abstention at that time. Finally, it's not my intention to continue making the statement on future matters because the legal work that was occurring more than approximately 20 years ago is not contemplated or covered by Nevada's ethics statutes, which I fully support and respect and will fully cooperate with, but wanted that all in the record, as I said, just as a matter of full transparency. After that, thank you and welcome, and please introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you. I'm Phyllis Gilland. I'm the General Counsel for Golden Entertainment. Chair Hendrick, Member Watkins, Member Assad, welcome both to the board. We look forward to working with you. Member Watkins, we look forward to continue working with you. Madam Secretary, always thank you. I'm here to introduce Dan Grossbeck, who is Vice President of our Nevada Distributed Gaming Operations. And for those who don't know, distributed is our Tavern locations. I think we have 65 at this point, and all of our route locations, which I think are about 750, something like that. So Mr. Grossbeck has been before the board before. We're going to have him give you a little bit of his background since you're new and the progress he's made since he's been before the board previously.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Chair Hendrick, Member Watkins, Member Assad, Madam Secretary. My name is Dan Grossbeck. I am the Vice President of Nevada Distributed Gaming. I've been in that position for about a year now. Moving to give you a brief history, moving to Nevada from Missouri back in 2004. Spent about 12 years on the Strip between Venetian and also MGM Grand, learning different facets of management. Also being included in the leadership development program at the Venetian, learning different departments throughout my time. In 2016, I took a few large professional steps backwards to learn Golden Gaming and make that transition. Since that time, I have grown from just working behind the bar in the taverns to being a general manager to being a regional manager, which was the first time I came in front of the board. Since then, I've been promoted to Director of Tavern Operations. I had a brief stint at the Arizona Charlie's locations as the Assistant General Manager, where I was then brought back to the corporate office to be the Vice President of Distributed Gaming. I would like to thank Scott Woodmer for his diligence with my background. I'd like to open the floor to any questions that you guys may have.
Thank you, and appreciate getting to hear your story. I read through the transcript when you were here a couple of years ago, read through the investigation, read through your cooperation at that time. And as you know, the purpose of a limited approval is to give the board and the commission a chance to look into you and see if you're still progressing. And that's very clear from the record that you are. You had some concerns at that time, which I don't think are a concern now. I also like the fact that Golden Gaming was supportive of you throughout your employment and continues to be, and help you with your advancement and seeing that you're somebody that they can support. And that's important to me, that a company would stand behind somebody, understand that everybody's going to have hiccups at any point in their life. So you're working for a good company, and that you're progressing is very important for me to see. I didn't have anything else, having read the record. Do Member Watkins or Member Assad have questions or discussion for Mr. Grossbeck?
Hi, good morning, and thank you for being here. I'm going to echo the chair's comments on this one. Any concerns that were addressed as it relates to the limitation, I don't have any longer. So no other areas of concern or questions from me, and I'm happy to support the application.
No concerns, no questions, satisfied. Thank you.
Good. Anything else for us this morning?
No, we appreciate the staff's time and Mr. Widmer's time and the board's consideration as well as the commission. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, if there's no other discussion, we can take a motion on non-restricted item number 7.
I will make that motion. I move to recommend approval of non-restricted item number 7 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert.
I'll second that motion.
Madam Secretary?
Member Assad?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chairman Hendrick?
Aye. Thank you very much. Good luck to you. Thank you. I believe that is it for the non-restricted agenda. Is that correct, Madam Secretary?
Correct.
All right. And I believe we're calendared for, is it 11 o'clock for the restricted agenda?
Yes, 11 o'clock.
Okay, so we will be in recess for approximately 23 minutes.
What's that? 23 minutes.
We are back on the record. Thank you. We're back on the record for our restricted agenda items. Madam Secretary, can you please read in restricted item number 1?
Chair Hendrick, we usually do our consent agenda.
You want to do the consent agenda? Thank you. That'll save me some trouble. Good. Let's do that. Let's go to the consent agenda. And if you would like to read that in, that'd be great.
Restricted number 5 is the application for licensure of KMAM and GK LLC to receive a percentage of gaming revenue from United Coin Machine Company doing business as Century Gaming Technologies, doing business at 7-Eleven store number 21039. It is also the application of Amarji Marog for licensure as a member and manager. Restricted number 6 is the application of Harmon Enterprises Inc. for disposition of securities as noted on the agenda. Restricted number 7 is the application of Buffalo Investments Inc. for a disposition of securities as noted on the agenda. Restricted number 8 is the application of Apollo Coin Corporation doing business as Nevada Gaming Corporation doing business at the Lodge at Blue Diamond for a restricted gaming license. Restricted number 9 is the application of United Coin Machine Company doing business as Century Gaming Technologies doing business at Jet Coin Op Laundromat for a restricted gaming license. Restricted number 10 is the application of United Coin Machine Company doing business as Century Gaming Technologies doing business at Circle K store number 2709563. For a restricted gaming license. Restricted number 11 is the application of Shortline Gaming LLC, doing business as Shortline Gaming, doing business at U.S. Market for a restricted gaming license. Restricted number 12 is the application of Shortline Gaming LLC, doing business as Shortline Gaming, doing business at U.S. Market for a restricted gaming license.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Those items as read into the record as part of our restricted consent agenda didn't have any questions or issues with those items, and no appearances were required this morning. So I would ask if there's any discussion on the items read into the record by the Secretary.
None for me, Chair.
No, thank you. None by me.
All right, then I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda items read into the record.
I will make that motion. I move to recommend approval of restricted item numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 pursuant to the following conditions. As to item number 9, a full attendant age 21 or older must be on duty at all times. The machines are available to the public for play. And a mirror of suitable size as depicted in the submitted diagram must be maintained for the purposes of supervising the slot machines.
I will second that motion.
Madam Secretary.
Member Assad?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chairman Hendrick?
Aye. Thank you. So then that brings us to our restricted items that were held out for discussion. And starting with restricted item number 1, if you'd read that into the record, Madam Secretary.
Restricted number 1 is the application of Best Bet Products, Inc., doing business at Coyote Corner for a restricted gaming license, and the application for licensure of Coyote Stations, Inc. to receive a percentage of gaming revenue from Best Bet Products, Inc., doing business at Coyote Corner.
Do we have anyone appearing here or online for restricted 1? Please step forward, state, spell your name for the record, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Wendy Black, WENDY BLACK.
Thank you. Did you have anything that you wanted to present to us, or did you just want us to ask questions if we have them?
Well, if you have any questions, I'll try and answer them.
Okay.
I'm licensed already in quite a few locations, so I guess I could present that.
Yeah, I understand from the record that you've been in front of the board and commission several times, and as you stated, are currently licensed in several locations. The question I had, just jumping into things here, you understand that there was a previous key employee application that was withdrawn. I believe it was back in October of 2016, and then a new application wasn't put in its place. Someone had resigned. Do you want to tell us what happened there?
Certainly. I think the reason that they originally wanted me to have a key employee is because we had a location in Las Vegas, and then this was our new location in Pahrump. So it seemed like it was a long way away. So they wanted a key employee. So I applied as they asked, and that person that, we did all the paperwork and everything for, got bucked off her horse, broke her arm, got really sick, and just could no longer do it. I did not withdraw it. I'm not quite sure who did, but I didn't know that I had to reapply for another one. So when the investigator called me, he says, "Well, you don't have a key employee." I said, "Nobody said anything that I needed to redo that." So I said, "No problem." I applied for another one, and it's for Jennifer Aragon. I submitted that right after I spoke with Joseph Lombardo about it. And I'm out in Pahrump now. We've sold our Las Vegas location, so I'm in Pahrump full time. It's not like I'm not there to oversee what's going on.
Right. Thank you for that explanation. That's my understanding as well, is that you were forthcoming with the investigators when they brought it to your attention. Is there someone advising you on legal matters or keeping you up to date on any regulations or license conditions that may be in place? Do you do that yourself? Do you have legal counsel? That's all on you. That's all on you. Okay. Have you recently reviewed all conditions and the regulations of the Nevada Gaming Commission to be sure you're familiar with them?
Well, as I know them, I'm pretty well versed on it, and my slot company keeps me pretty well up to date. So
Good.
I rely on them a lot. And we have two different companies. We're using Best Bet for this location, and we have Golden for the other two locations, which was from ETT.
Great. And I'm sure that the investigators probably mentioned to you that that's a violation of NGC Regulation 5. There is potential grounds for disciplinary action. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but there could be an order to show cause, which means you'd have to explain pretty much what you just did on the record. It could rise to the level of disciplinary complaint. I'm not saying that's it, but not only for you, but for anyone who is in a licensed situation. As you know, having multiple locations, it's important to us that we keep up with our licensees on conditions that are on the license, and that, of course, the licensees keep up on all of the regulations and statutes of the gaming industry.
Yes, Mr. Lombardo explained that to me. I wasn't totally familiar with that. I'll just be really honest. I didn't know.
Understood. Thank you. That's the only questions I had. Member Watkins or Judge Assad, did you have discussion or questions?
Hi, welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. So I just echo the chair's concerns, and it looks like you were made aware and that you took care of that issue. But I'd like to understand how you plan on in the future ensuring that the proper filing is done.
Well, I have a new company out there that's a little more hand-holding than what we had from before. So I'm hoping that he will help me with that to make sure that I stay. And I've got a new relationship with Golden Gaming, and they're going to work with me more on that also.
Okay, thank you. So surrounding yourself with people who have a little more expertise in the area.
Mine was 0, but it's getting better.
Well, thank you for that. I don't have any further questions or concerns.
Judge Assad?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'd like to thank you for being here as well. I think the chair and Member Watkins have covered everything, so I'm satisfied.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can we remove that stipulation off of that very first one? Because there's only one that has that stipulation for the key employee. Not that I'm not going to have a key employee in place, but it's only on one location that the key employee is, and that was the very first one out for
But you're saying right now you've already had a new person file the key employee application?
Yes.
Okay, I would say for now, let's leave it on there. If something comes up over the time, right now it feels like you're covered. And I would encourage you to check into legal counsel if you need that. Not trying to put any financial burden on you, but you certainly inquire with them about taking it off. I don't want to say on the record right now without reviewing it, it can't come off, but I believe your explanation makes sense where you're saying that you were in 2 cities and you believe that's why that's there. I don't have that in my record right now, but it's a very fair question to ask. If you want to look into that with investigations and filing an application, we'd certainly entertain it. But I appreciate that you've already filed an application now. So personally, for me, I'd let the other members speak for themselves. I'd like to leave it on there since it's in the process.
No problem. Appreciate
Yes, and especially because I think I had an understanding, but I don't recall what the understanding, what the intent behind the key employee, specific intent behind the key employee application was at that particular location. And I'd like to have a better understanding of that before, making any decisions. So,
I don't know for sure. That was
Yeah.
just the stipulation on there. And being that I was pretty new, that's the very first one that I got that was, away from the other location. The other location had no stipulations.
Okay.
So, and like I said, I just kind of assumed that because they're 70, 80 miles apart, that maybe they thought that.
I think I think I
Pretty fair.
recall.
Yeah,
Okay.
that could be fair, but without us having it in our materials, hard for us to decide.
I didn't know either, so.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Maybe
good. And
more than-
certainly appreciate you cooperating with the investigators and the fact that you, as you said today, you didn't know, you apologize. You're going to stay up on the regulations. That's important for us, not just for this key employee application, but for anything else. So please do that for us. Unless there's other questions or discussions, I would entertain a motion on non-restricted item number 1.
Restricted.
Restricted item 1. Yeah, we already did non-restricted, so let's do restricted item 1.
Awesome. I don't have any further questions or concerns. So I'll go ahead and make that motion then. I move to recommend approval of restricted item number 1 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert pursuant to the following condition. The surveillance system and/or mirror must be inspected and approved by the Nevada Gaming Control Board Enforcement Division within 60 days of issuance of the state gaming license and thereafter be maintained at or above the standard that is improved.
Let me ask, maybe a question for the Attorney General's office. Is this a new condition and the key employee condition stays on it, or is that 2 investigations? Do you know, Chief Hoffman?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Well, as read in by Member Watkins, we have the surveillance system and mirror condition. The applicant is asking if we'd be taking off the key employee condition. Is that still on?
That stays on.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah, we're adding this new condition. Thank you. Yeah, this is standard language for our surveillance system, which you're probably aware of.
Is it only for the one location? I have cameras everywhere, so I mean, it's not a big deal.
Cameras, mirrors, have they gone through that
we
with
have
you?
all that.
Yeah.
In all of them.
This application before us today is only this location,
Okay.
but that's a pretty standard condition that would be on any of your licenses now, to have, obviously, as you said, surveillance, mirrors, everything required by enforcement. And they usually do an inspection of that. Am I correct, Chief Hoffman? That's on almost all restricted locations now?
Yes.
Yes.
And I also non-restricted as well.
Of course, non-restricted, even bigger.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So we have a motion,
I'll second that motion.
and Madam Secretary?
Member Assad?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chairman Hendrick?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Good luck to you. Thank you. Bringing us to restricted item number 2, Madam Secretary.
Restricted number 2 is the application of Kevin Lead for temporary licensure as a personal representative, as noted on the agenda. It is also the application of Leads Incorporated for dispositions of securities, as noted on the agenda, and for transfers of interest, as noted on the agenda. Finally, you have the application by Kevin Michael Lead to pledge his shareholder interest in Leads Incorporated to Janet Arlene Wells in conjunction with a promissory note.
All right. Do we have appearances on this matter? I'm assuming by television screen. I see you there. Thank you. Please identify yourself, state and spell your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair Hendrick and members of Assad, Watkins. My name is Chris McKenzie, CHRIS, MAC, capital KENZIE, with the law firm of Allison McKenzie. With me are Kevin Lead and Janet Lead. We're here based on the applications and that's before you. I imagine there was a concern regarding the tardiness of the notification. We're here to answer any questions. Unfortunately, we're here due to the unfortunate death of their father during the COVID epidemic. And fortunately, they were both licensed ahead of time. There had been succession planning on that, but there was confusion as to what licensing meant and what transfers approvals were required at the time. So once that was discovered, they immediately notified gaming, and that's why those applications are here before you.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. First of all, my condolences to you on the loss of your family member. Very, very tough time that we all went through, and certainly our sympathies for that. I'm sure you're now very aware of NGC Regulation 9 that advises that if there is a death or disability of a licensee, there's some very strict time requirements in that have just historically been required so that gaming isn't being conducted by people that aren't licensed or found suitable. It's very, very understanding that if within 30 days you lost a family member, that this probably wasn't the most important thing that your family was going through. So personally, and I'm sure the other members can recognize that. Did you have counsel advising you at that point? Was it just counsel for the estate and there wasn't gaming counsel? Is that what happened?
Yes, sir. And for the record, my name is Kevin Lead, Kevinleid. Yes, and my father, unfortunately, did not finish his estate planning when COVID hit, and so we ended up having to rely on an old kind of a will that he had drafted in the 70s. And the gentleman that he was working with on his estate planning was unfamiliar with the gaming stamp on our corporate stock certificates. And truthfully, myself, when Janet and I were licensed, we were licensed based on the death of our mother and receiving stock, and it was 20 plus years ago. And what we were told then was that the reason for the being licensed or having to be licensed was a twofold situation. One, we were receiving stock in a company that had gaming as a portion of its income, and then secondly, in the event something happened to our father, that we could continue on. And so Janet and I were both under the impression that that was still what was the norm, and therefore it was missed by me as the vice president of the company, and also working with my father for the last 25 years of managing our locations and taking care of business. We've always been right up front with everything that we do in our process and our locations that have the gaming. And of course, and Mr. McKenzie can attest that once we found out about this error, we immediately got it corrected, and we've been producing documents and whatever you guys need within a 24-hour basis. So I have to just basically my sincere apologies for messing this up, but it wasn't our intention, and we certainly didn't choose to just ignore the statutes or the regulations. I would have gladly participated in anything to accommodate everyone.
Thank you for that explanation. And yes, these things come up if you don't have gaming counsel, which I appreciate you having now. Even though there's a lot of licensed attorneys in this state, these are the kind of things that they just wouldn't know about, even if it's stamped on the stock certificate. Somebody has to be paying attention to that. And so it's good that you've got somebody helping you with it now. My understanding is there was an escrow account of some payments that would have been happening during this time period. How many months did that happen, and when did it stop, those payments?
Mr. Chair, this is Chris McKenzie for the record. Those payments continued, and the reason for that was really to keep peace in the valley, if you will. This is brother and sister. She'd retired from the business. It was with the understanding, the assumed risk by the corporation and Mr. Lead that those stocks might not transfer and that we would have to restructure this. So it was not a thumbing at the nose at the regulations. It was more a family matter, brother and sister maintaining that income for her life choices. And it's been it's been quite some time, from when this all went down, and that was continued. So for what it's worth, that was the rationale for it.
When was the last money put into escrow, and when was the last payment out of escrow?
February 1, just a few days ago.
Okay. And that's even though you and your clients had understood that there was a restriction, a condition on this license, and actually law on this license that says there has to be notification within 30 days and you can't own or transfer without commission approval?
Yes, sir. And the stock was not transferred. These were payments. The stock has not been transferred. It's been held in abeyance. This was a brother, just full transparency, for the sister relying on getting these payments, for her moving on and her family. And it was totally done with the risks recognized by Mr. Lead, but done for his sister. And that's why those continued. All transparency.
Let's hear from Ms. Wells. I'm interested in how much you're involved in this business and how much you are aware of what transpired. And again, me prefacing all of that with my condolences to you for losing your father.
Thank you so much. I'm not very involved at all. Right now, I do not do anything with the company.
Okay. Were you aware of this responsibility that the gaming commission, the gaming control board need to be notified if there was a death of the licensee?
No, I did not.
At what time did you become aware of that? Probably through your counsel, right?
Actually, it was a letter from you through to my home maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay,
I got a letter to appear here today.
gotcha. Do we have questions from Member Watkins, Judge Assad?
There was another area of interest as it relates to the posting of additional positions of Mr. Lead on the Secretary of State website without informing the board. Were you made aware of that?
Yes, and we did make the notification. One of the employees made one of the notification online, and that's been updated.
I'm sorry, I had a difficult time understanding what you said. Can you repeat that?
I'm sorry that that has been updated and that's up to date, and that was done online probably a month ago. I'm not sure now.
Okay, and so they're now aware that if similar changes are made, that the board needs to be updated. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. That's all I have on those items. I think the chair has covered the questions or concerns as it relates to the other areas of interest in the continued payments despite knowing that it was in violation. Again, as the chair noted, we offer our condolences as to the loss of the family member. It understand that with regard to filing a temporary application for licensure as personal representative, that's probably not the first thing on your mind. But there's concern related to the continued payment.
Judge Assad, do you have discussions or questions?
I'm very sorry for your loss as well. I know it's a difficult time and things kind of fall between the cracks. I would just recommend that you stay in close contact with Mr. McKenzie moving forward to make sure none of these issues arise again.
Is it your intention, Mr. Lead, to continue owning and operating this location?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this temporary licensure, I didn't see on here. Chief Hoffman, is there a time limit on that?
limited to 2 years.
That's fine with me if that's what you're recommending. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Chair.
Yes.
Usually what you do is you put it in the condition on the license or the limitation on license, how long you would like it to expire
Good.
or to be in existence.
Do you
Thank
have
you.
some language for that?
Real fast, it'd be something simple like the temporary license shall be in effect until such time as the estate can be reasonably resolved or no longer than a period of 1 year or something along those lines.
I think Chief Hoffman's recommending 2 to be sure we
Sure,
don't have
yeah.
to make them come back again.
Maybe
All right.
suggested language.
Yeah, the approval of the application for temporary licensure as personal representative. Let me start.
Chief Hoffman, could you please speak into the mic?
Yes.
Because we can't hear you on this end of the room.
Okay. The approval of Kevin Michael Lead as, no, start again. The approval of Kevin Michael Lead for temporary licensure as a personal representative shall be limited to 2 years to expire at midnight on the night of the Nevada Gaming Commission meeting, February 2025, Nevada Gaming Commission.
You don't think we need anything that says unless the probate estate is settled prior to that?
I don't think so, because then the disapproval would just become
We
moot.
would have another application that would override it. Makes sense. All right, unless there's other discussion, I would entertain a motion if you have that, or if you'd like Chief Hoffman to repeat it.
I think I got it, but he can correct me if I misrepresent. Okay. Oh, so we're ready for the motion. Okay. I move to recommend approval of restricted item number 2 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert, subject to the following condition. The approval of Kevin Lead for temporary licensure as personal representative shall be limited to 2 years to expire at midnight of the Nevada Gaming Commission meeting in February 2025.
I'll second that motion.
All right, Madam Secretary?
Member Assad?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chairman Hendrick?
Aye. Thank you very much, and good luck to you, and again, our condolences to you.
Thank you very much, and we'd like to thank staff for their assistance for this. This has been a little bit convoluted, and we appreciate their patience and assistance. Well, thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I sure appreciate that. And the board.
Thank you. Thank you both. Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, that brings us to restricted item number 3. Madam Secretary, you want to read that into the record?
Restricted number 3 is the application of GBA Capital LLC doing business as Mr. Suds Laundromat for a restricted gaming license. It is also the applications for registration of BJJIQ Limited as a holding company and for finding of suitability of Brian James Bernardino as a member and manager. Lastly, it is the applications of BJJIQ Limited and Franklin On for licensure as a member and manager.
All right, do we have anyone appearing on this item? Please come forward, state your name and spell it for the record so the court reporter can accurately record it.
Good morning, Chair Hendrick, Member Watkins, and Member Assad. My name is Ryan Bernardino, Bernardino.
Pull that microphone a little closer to you. Sometimes it doesn't pick up. You can raise it if you need to. Thank you. Did you have anything you want to explain to us about your application before we start asking questions?
First of all, we had representation. Serena Choi, unfortunately, she passed very, very recently, and it's our first go around. We're both new to this. It's our first time going in front of the board, so please forgive us if you don't know the process. it's our
If you can speak up just a little bit more, I'm having.
Oh,
a
I'm sorry. I
difficult time
apologize.
hearing
Yeah.
you.
It's
So,
not picking you up.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please apologize for us if we don't know the process because, like I said, it's sort of been a short notice, an unfortunate incident that happened to Serena Choi, and it's our first time applying and whatnot. So please forgive us if we don't know what to do at this point.
No, completely understand and appreciate you both appearing here today. Our condolences on Ms. Choi as well. It's a very unfortunate circumstance and appreciate you both appearing here, even though that unfortunate incident happened. So we'll try to make this as easy on you as possible. But whenever somebody's applying for a new license or finding a suitability, we always like them to personally appear before us. And we have general questions we like to ask about the actual location. And as you may have heard earlier, your familiarity with the Nevada revised statutes, Nevada Gaming Commission regulations, things that we want all licensees to either be up on personally. It's your responsibility to be knowing all of those laws and statutes and regulations. And it's also, if you don't know, it's your responsibility to go and find competent counsel or representative to help you with that.
Yes, understood.
Yes.
Thank you.
Please introduce and spell your name for the record as well.
My name is Franklin On, spelled Franklin. Last name AHN.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tell us about this business a little bit. How long have you had it? When did you get involved?
We purchased the laundromat last March. It's last March, and just so happens that the laundromat had 4 existing gaming machines that was grandfathered in, and that's how we came about to applying for a gaming license because to obtain the 4 gaming machines. So we're very recent owners. It's actually just our first business, my first business. It's Franklin's second business because he owns a laundromat over in LA.
Where are you getting the machines from?
It was existing machines that was owned by the previous owner, and we are purchasing it officially after we get approved for our license.
So they're in the location or were they taken back?
They had been unplugged and tucked away in the corner of our location, and it's not accessible to the public.
And Chief Hoffman, I didn't see in the materials, I'm assuming those machines are being checked by investigations or audit once they get turned back on. Is that correct?
I would think enforcement division.
I'm
check
sorry,
them when they're
enforcement,
turned back
correct,
on.
yeah. All right. I read your backgrounds, appreciate that, and appreciate you working with investigations through Ms. Choi and being forthcoming in incidences you may have had in your past. One of the main things that we try to do as a regulatory body in this state is what we call front loading, which means we want to put in good people into this industry, and we want good people who get into the industry to know that we're going to expect them to come to us if there's problems. It's not like waiting around to say, well, I wonder if they'll find out, they'll catch me. It's more like I have a responsibility if I receive a privileged license that I want to personally go and contact the Gaming Control Board to say, this is a problem, I'm admitting it, I'm explaining it, and that makes us work a lot easier from this side. We can work together to try to figure out the problem rather than find it out and then it's a violation. You may have to follow disciplinary matters. And then, of course, the worst thing is the patrons who expect a fair and honest game may believe that they're not getting that, whether it be in your establishment or anywhere else. So that's upon you as licensees if you're granted a license here today.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Great. I didn't have other questions or discussion. Member Watkins or Judge Assad?
Thank you for your presentation and the information you provided and being forthcoming about items in the background. And it looks like they have been taken care of. And so I don't have further concerns as it relates to those. I would support the application.
All my concerns have been covered.
Thank you.
Great. All right, if there's no other discussion, Madam Secretary, Call for a vote. Actually, we're probably going to need a motion, right? Before we call for the vote. Great. If you want to, I'd entertain a motion if you would like, Member Watkins.
Yes. I move to recommend approval of restricted item number 3 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert pursuant to the following condition. A full-time attendant age 21 or older must be on duty at all times. The machines are available to public for play.
I'll second the motion.
You understand that condition?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yes.
Great. All right, Madam Secretary, now if you would call the roll.
Member Assad?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chairman Hendrick?
Aye. Thank you very much and good luck to you. We hope to see you here more as you grow and expand any business that you may have that has gaming involved in it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much. Have a
you.
great morning, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Does that bring us to number 4, Madam Secretary?
It sure does.
Restricted item number 4. Please read that into the record.
Restricted number 4 is the application of Champions Tavern LLC doing business as Aces East for a restricted gaming license. It is also the applications for registration of Alamon Gaming LLC as a holding company and for finding of suitability of Colton Norbert Alamon as a member and manager. Lastly, it is the applications of Michael Goker, Colton Alamon, and Alamon Gaming LLC for licensure as a member and or manager.
Hello,
Good morning.
Dennis Gutwald with the law firm of McDonald Carano. With me is Michael Lee Gauker and Coleman Alamon. And with your permission, we'll give a brief affirmative presentation. I'll have Colton tell you a little bit about the business, a little bit about himself, and then have Mr. Gauker tell him a little bit about himself, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Please, thank you.
Hello, how are you guys? I'm Colton Alleman, spelled Kolten Aleman. A brief description of myself would be I was born in Las Vegas, Nevada, went to Bishop Gorman for high school, and then LA for college. As soon as I got home, I worked for my family for a little bit, then Click Hospitality, and now I'm back working for my family and opening my own stuff as well. We opened Aces East right after the COVID lockdown, so that was fun. And it's pretty much it. 50% owner of Champions Tavern doing business as Aces East.
You were in front of the board and commission last month, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, great. Thank you. Thank you for appearing today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Goker?
My name's Mike Gauker, Gouker. I'm gonna skip Mike. I'm partners in the bar with Colton. I came to Las Vegas in 1963 and worked construction, been my main business. I've had my own business about 38 years and went to high school here, short stint in college, not very long. And then I went to IBW electrical apprenticeship, did that. And now I'm a utility contractor. And so branching off a little bit, get into something else.
And how much do you expect to be involved in the operations of Aces East?
Colton and I talk quite often, and I'm involved down at the property and check in on him and make sure everything's going good, but he handles the bulk of it.
Good.
I discuss with him anything I think needs to happen.
Great. Questions or discussion from the board members?
I think you covered it, Chair. I don't have any further questions or concerns.
Good luck.
Good. And I saw, Mr. Gauker, you have quite a few LLCs. I'm assuming that's done for each property that you're building?
Yes.
And those
And
are
investing. This is
investing
the only
too.
gaming thing I'm involved in. Most of those are investments
Gotcha.
or houses or
Understood. Understood. Mr. Gutwald, did you have anything else to present today?
No, if you don't have any other questions, we're good. Pleasure working with the agents, and I appreciate them catching me up on this application. I dove in rather late, so I appreciate it.
Great. You understand there'd be a condition on this license regarding successful completion of regulatory compliance seminars?
That's acceptable, and I think Colton's already done it, and
I'm signed up for the June one.
Good.
I'm on February.
Okay, great. All right, if no other discussion, we can entertain a motion on restricted item number 4.
Okay. I move to recommend approval of restricted item number 4 as read into the record by Secretary Rupert pursuant to the following condition. The licensee shall demonstrate successful completion of a regulatory compliance seminar for restricted licensees, which is deemed acceptable to the Nevada Gaming Control Board Chair or the Chair's designee within 90 days of the issuance of the state gaming license. This condition may be administratively extended by the Nevada Gaming Control Board Chair or the Chair's designee.
I'll second the motion.
Understood. I'm just reading this here. So within 120 days of the issuance of the state gaming license. Yeah, perfect. You're scheduled for February and you're scheduled for June for the regulatory compliance seminars. Wonderful.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Very good, Madam Secretary.
Member Assad?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chairman Hendrick?
Aye. Thank you for appearing here and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. All right. Madam Secretary, is that complete our restricted agenda items?
It does.
All right. The next item on the agenda then would be the casino player dispute appeal. Would you like to read that into the record?
You have one casino player dispute appeal. That item is Robert Benyamini versus Excalibur Hotel and Casino. The hearing examiner recommends the agent's decision denying payment be affirmed.
Thank you. I have read the summary, the investigation, the hearing officer's report, read through the facts, testimony, a very complete record done by the hearing officer. Looks like witnesses were called. I did not have anything to ask or add. Member Watkins or Judge Assad, did you have discussion regarding this patron dispute?
Chair, I've had an opportunity to review the materials provided, and I don't have any additional questions or concerns, and I'm ready to move forward.
I as well. I read Agent Nishimura's report and the summary as well, and I'm ready to move forward.
Okay, with that, we had a recommendation as part of the summary and the hearing officer's report and conclusions. So I would entertain a motion as to what the Game Control Board would do with this player dispute appeal.
I move to approve the hearing examiner's recommendation that the agent's decision denying payment of $202,000 be affirmed.
I'll second that motion.
No other discussion, Madam Secretary?
Member Assad?
Aye.
Member Watkins?
Aye.
Chairman Hendrick?
Aye. Right. That was the only player dispute matter, correct, Madam Secretary?
Correct.
That is correct. All right. That brings us to our last agenda item, which is our second public comment section. Do you want to explain that one, Madam Secretary?
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming-related matters. As stated at the time of the public comment section at the beginning of the meeting, anyone wishing to address the board may do so at this time. Comments by each person are limited to 3 minutes as a reasonable time, place, and manner restriction. Board members ask questions of the speaker. The time needed to address those questions will not count against the speaker's 3-minute time period. If speakers have any handouts or written copies of verbal comments to provide for the record, please hand them to the enforcement agent seated to your left here in Las Vegas or seated behind you in Carson City.
And again, pursuant to the state's open meeting law, matters brought to the board's attention during public comment cannot be acted upon, but we are happy to hear comments from the public, as well as comments that can be made by fellow board members during this public comment section of our agenda. Let's first go to Carson City. If there's anyone in Carson City wishing to make a public comment, please step forward to the podium. Please spell and state your name for the record so that the court reporter can accurately record it for the transcript. Is there anyone in Carson City this morning? Seeing none, let's go here to Las Vegas. Is there anyone who wishes to come to the podium for public comment? Or do any of the members wish to make public comment?
I'd like to make a public comment, and I would just say, welcome to the board. It's been great getting to know each of you over the last week or so, and I am looking forward to working with you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to thank Member Watkins and the chair for helping this transition. And I'd like to thank Governor Lombardo for this opportunity. And I'd like to thank the gaming industry for providing me with the resources to go to law school and to come full circle and be a part of the body that regulates the industry. It's been quite a journey. So thank you.
Great. If there's no one else who wishes to speak for public comment, that will close our public comment section. And this concludes the Nevada Game Control Board meeting for the month of February 2023. Thank you all for attending in person or virtually today, and we are adjourned. Thank you.